Why can't you stop thinking about your twin flame? Because the obsessive thinking is quite crazy in the twin flame journey. It's like one of the biggest signs that you are a twin flame. Because the obsessive thinking isn't just like when you're thinking about someone a lot, when you're in love and you think a lot about someone, or even if you're kind of borderline obsessed. The way that I've always seen the obsessive thinking about the twin flame, it's like your brain, imagine your brain as this glass wall, and they are literally spray painted on this glass wall. They're literally just imprinted on that. And that's kind of how I always felt. I always felt like no matter what I was doing in the day, it's like they were just stamped and tattooed on my psyche somehow. And that happens because as a twin flame, the whole journey is about recognition. And recognition is when you recognize the divine, pure consciousness, pure infinite love, and you access that through another person. But when you're at that stage, you don't know that what you're yearning for in this other person is actually your truest spiritual self, your truest spiritual nature. So your mind equates this fulfillment of utter love, this wholeness, this peace, this bliss with your twin flame, with the physical form of your twin flame. And I like to say the mind and the body of the twin flame. And so your brain, your mind, pushes onto them, and that's what we call the push energy. So it's not runner and chaser, it's push and pull, and you're the push polarity. And your mind, at some point during this activation of the twin flame journey, is going to start yearning for them, obsessively thinking about them, needing them, feeling just like a complete mess. And talking about the depths of the pain of the twin flame journey is another video in itself. And today we're more focused on the thinking aspect. But the mental part is that your mind basically, another example that I would use, I think can help, is, have you ever been in water or in the ocean and the sun is like glittering onto the water? And so what's happening is the mind is grasping at the reflection of light, the glitter of light that's in the water, and just trying to grab it, thinking that it's going to get a hold of the sun. And so the sun is pure infinite love. It is your true nature, it's your true self. And your mind thinks that it can get that from the physical form or the mind, the mind body of the other twin. And so it's grasping onto the other twin. It's constantly thinking of the other twin. And that's why it's such a profound experience, is because you are literally being activated on your spiritual ascension, being completely dumbfounded by, for the first time in your life, getting the clearest reflection and energy of divine love, because your specific twin flame is supposed to trigger and access that, and to cause this cascade of yearning, of pain, of obsession, and obsessive thinking. And what do you do about it, right? And so there's meditation, breath work, things like that. But the attitude that you need to have with the obsessive thinking is to, detox in a way, and to kind of say, okay, the physical form and the mind of my twin flame is kind of like a drug that I need to seriously detox myself from, right? And so at some point you want to have, not to get into a practice where you're not focusing on outcomes with the physical twin, where you're not spiraling over the form, or like grasping onto the form within your mind, such as thoughts, such as imagination. And this is why, don't imagine the physical form of your twin. That would push them away, because externalizing on the twin flame journey is making the physical form and the mind of your twin flame the focus. And the focus needs to be, remember, if you're trying to grab the sun, light that's in the water, you're just going to try to grasp at water. Don't do that. Focus your attention on the sun. And in this analogy, that means focus your attention on infinite love, on connecting to infinite love, right? And to make your practice centered on aligning yourself to the vibration of love, of wholeness, without form, without, mentally using the form of your twin. And I'm not saying that that's easy. It very much is like a sort of a drug addiction, and it's tough, and the practice has to be consistent. It has to be done with the mindset of, I'm not going to keep trying to grab the sunlight in the water. I'm going to the sun. So I'm not going to try to grab or seek or yearn for infinite love within the form of my twin, but I'm going to rather go to the source itself, go to infinite love, go to pure bliss within myself, right? Turning inwards. And that's kind of where the magic happens, actually. You start to feel better. You start to feel at peace. And you start to actually not think about them a lot. And, you get to a point where you are so full of this radiant love and so connected to source that your mind doesn't actively think about them in the same way that it did before. And it sounds scary at first, but it's not that that you love them any less. It's not that you never think about them, because that would be very unrealistic. So it's not about that. But it's more that when you think of them, there's a neutrality there. There's not a grasping. There's not this sense that they're plastered onto your brain. There's a sense of calmness, of zen, not yearning, but not trying to escape either, right? And so you can think about them for sure. You can, think about them normally. It's just that the energy is not charged with obsession, and you might notice that, you're not thinking about them at all in the same way that you used to. And so that's the part of balancing the push energy, and when you're connecting to source, that kind of falls into place. But I hope this video helps, because the obsessive thinking is a very good sign that you're a twin, and it's a very difficult part.